Okay, so we're diving deep today into Frankenstein.
All right.
Chapters 22 through 24.
Ooh, okay.
And let me tell you something. These chapters,
Yeah.
they're intense.
Yeah,
Just a whirlwind of emotion and some really shocking event.
I bet.
So we're going to unpack all that.
Okay.
We're going to unpack Victor's relentless pursuit of the creature and see how his obsession with revenge really affects him and how he changes. But
Yeah.
more importantly, I think we're going to examine the creature's response to Victor's rage.
Oh, very interesting.
What is going on in the creature's mind
Wait,
at this point?
that's a great question, and I think it's easy to overlook the creature's perspective in these chapters.
Totally.
But before we get there, let's consider the context.
Okay.
We start with what should be a joyous occasion, Victor and Elizabeth's wedding.
Right.
They find this idyllic inn by a lake for their wedding night. Beautiful scenery, romantic setting.
Yeah.
But Victor is already on edge,
Oh, yeah.
completely consumed by fear.
It's such a stark contrast. Like, you have this picture of tranquility,
Yeah.
and then you have Victor just totally unable to enjoy any of it.
Yeah.
Because he's convinced the creature is out there
Yeah, exactly.
waiting to strike.
And this paranoia,
Right.
it really speaks to the depth of Victor's fear.
Yeah.
He's so convinced that the creature wants to hurt him that he can't even experience the joy of his wedding night.
Wow.
Which, of course, makes what happens next even more tragic.
Oh, absolutely. The discovery of Elizabeth's murder is just brutal.
It is.
Shelley does not shy away from the gruesome
Yeah,
details.
she doesn't.
And what really struck me was how Victor describes her pale and distorted features, half covered by her hair.
Ugh.
It's just so chilling.
Yes.
And it really emphasizes the violence of the act.
Absolutely. And Victor's reaction to this is so raw and complex.
It is.
On one hand, he's completely shattered,
Yeah.
longing for death himself.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, there's this primal instinct to survive, this clinging to life,
Right.
even in the face of unbearable pain.
Yeah.
It's a really powerful exploration of human resilience, even in the darkest of circumstances.
And then, as if the murder itself wasn't horrifying enough, we have this image of the creature
Oh, yeah.
at the window grinning and pointing at Elizabeth's body.
I know, chills.
It just sends chills down your spine just thinking about
Oh,
it.
absolutely. That moment is so crucial
Yeah.
because it reveals the depth of the creature's cruelty.
Right.
He's not just content with killing Elizabeth.
Right.
He wants to make sure that Victor witnesses his pain to truly savor his suffering.
Yeah.
It's a level of malice that's truly disturbing.
And the creature knows exactly how to hurt. Victor doesn't.
He does.
He strikes at the very heart of his happiness,
Right.
destroying the one person who brought Victor any sense of peace.
Right. And this goes back to your initial question about the creature's motivations. Do you think he's simply mimicking Victor's own vengeful desires?
Yeah.
Or is there something deeper at play here?
Right.
A more primal need for retribution?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen how obsessed Victor has become with revenge, right?
Yes.
Dedicating his life to hunting down the creature.
Exactly.
And now the creature seems to be doing the same to Victor.
Right.
Almost like a twisted mirror image.
And it raises these questions about the nature of revenge itself.
Yeah.
Does it ever truly bring satisfaction, or does it only perpetuate a cycle of violence and pain?
Well, we certainly see that cycle playing out here.
Yeah.
Victor, driven by grief and rage, chases after the creature. But his efforts are futile.
Right.
In fact, people start to doubt his sanity,
Yes.
believing that he's imagined the entire encounter.
And this disbelief further isolates Victor.
Right.
It reminds me of the skepticism surrounding Vistine's conviction earlier in the novel.
Totally.
Society seems unable or unwilling to believe Victor.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to anything related to the creature.
Right.
He becomes an outcast burden not only by his grief, but also by the stigma of being associated with something so monstrous.
And that isolation just intensifies as Victor returns to Geneva
Oh, yeah.
and discovers that his father has died, unable to cope with the news of Elizabeth's murder.
Right.
It's like one blow after another,
It is.
pushing Victor further into despair.
This sequence of tragedies really highlights the cyclical nature of Victor's suffering.
It does.
It's as if each death fuels his desire for revenge, creating the self-perpetuating loop of pain and loss.
Yeah.
It's a really powerful exploration of how grief can consume a person,
Right.
driving them to extremes.
And those extremes become incredibly clear
Yes, they do.
when Victor visits his family's graves
Oh, wow.
and makes this really dramatic vow to dedicate his life to hunting down the creature.
Yeah.
He even calls upon the spirits of the dead to aid him,
Wow.
making it feel almost supernatural,
It does.
like he's entered into this pact with dark forces.
That vow is pivotal
Yeah.
because it marks a turning point in Victor's character.
Right.
He fully embraces revenge, sacrificing any possibility of peace or happiness.
Right.
It's a decision driven by despair and rage, and it sets him on a path of no return.
And just as he makes this vow, the creature appears,
Oh my God.
whispering taunts in Victor's ear.
It's like he was summoned.
I know. It's almost as if he was summoned by Victor's intense emotions,
Yeah.
adding this eerie layer to the scene.
That moment is so chilling because it shows the extent of the creature's psychologically control over Victor.
Totally.
He knows how to manipulate Victor's fears and insecurities to torment him even from a distance.
Right.
It's a game of cat and mouse, but with incredibly high stakes.
And that game takes him across some incredibly vast and desolate landscapes.
It does.
Victor pursues the creature over mountains, through forest, across icy plains.
Wow.
It's a relentless chase that pushes Victor to his physical and mental limits.
The settings that Shelley chooses for this pursuit are so important.
They are.
These desolate, unforgiving environments, they mirror Victor's internal state.
Yeah.
He's isolated, consumed by his obsession, cut off from humanity both physically and emotionally.
And yet, despite the hardships, there are these strange moments
Oh, yeah.
where Victor receives this unexpected aid.
Okay.
He finds food when he's starving, water when he's parched.
Interesting.
These moments, while small, raise some interesting questions.
Yeah.
Is this divine intervention? Or just a series of fortunate coincidences?
I think the ambiguity is intentional.
Okay.
Shelley doesn't provide easy answers, leaving us to ponder the nature of this assistance.
Right.
Is it fate, supernatural intervention,
Mm-hmm.
or simply a reflection of Victor's desperate desire to believe that something somewhere is looking out for him?
Right.
It's a question that adds another layer of complexity to this already intricate story.
Absolutely. It's definitely not just a physical chase, is it?
No, it's not.
The creature is playing these mind games with Victor,
Ah.
leaving him cryptic messages, taunting him, leading him on.
Right.
It's like psychological torture.
Precisely. The creature isn't just trying to escape. He's
Right.
trying to break Victor.
Oh, wow.
He understands the power of psychological manipulation,
Yeah.
of using guilt and despair to inflict the most profound kind of pain.
It really makes you wonder,
Yeah.
does the creature derive any pleasure from this? Is he getting some kind of twisted sense of satisfaction
Yeah.
from Victor's suffering?
It's certainly suggested in the text.
Okay.
It's a passage where the creature describes watching Victor from afar,
Oh, really?
observing his growing desperation.
Uh,
It's a moment that's both chilling and strangely insightful.
Yeah.
We see the creature's intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
his capacity for strategic thinking,
Right.
but also his deep-seated resentment.
It's a reminder that the creature,
Yeah,
for all his monstrous qualities, is still a being
right.
with complex emotions.
He is.
He's capable of feeling anger, sadness,
Right.
and even a twisted form of empathy.
And perhaps that's why the climax of this chase is so impactful.
Okay.
Victor, on the verge of death, is rescued by Walton's ship.
Right, right.
It's a moment of reprieve, but it also marks a shift
Yeah.
in Victor's mindset.
Yes, his dying words
Yes.
are filled with his desperate plea for Walton to carry on his mission of revenge.
Wow.
But it's not just about personal vengeance anymore.
Right.
Victor frames it as a responsibility
Okay.
to protect humanity from the creature.
Interesting.
It's almost as if he's trying to redeem himself
Yeah.
in his final moments.
But it's interesting to consider whether that plea is genuine.
Right.
Is Victor truly concerned for humanity?
Yeah.
Or is it a way of justifying his own actions,
Mhm.
of shifting the blame onto the creature?
Yeah.
It's a question that challenges us to think critically about Victor's motivations.
That's a great point.
Yeah,
It's so easy to see Victor as the tragic hero.
it is.
But Shelley doesn't let him off the hook so easily.
No, she doesn't.
She forces us to confront the consequences of his choices.
Right.
His arrogance, his relentless pursuit of knowledge, without considering the ethical implications.
And then just when we think the story is reaching its conclusion,
Right.
we have an incredible twist.
Oh, yeah.
The creature appears
Right.
in Walton's cabin.
It's so unexpected.
I know. Yeah.
And the way Shelley describes him, it's both grotesque and strangely captivating.
Yes.
You can almost feel the creature's presence, hear his voice, as he delivers this incredibly moving confession.
And that confession is so crucial
Yeah.
because it allows us to see the creature from a different perspective.
Right.
He's not just a monster.
Right.
He's a being with a complex inner life,
Mm-hmm.
capable of feeling love, remorse, and despair.
Right.
He articulates his own struggles, his loneliness, his longing for connection.
It's a powerful reminder
It is.
that even the most monstrous beings
Yes.
can have a capacity for human emotions.
Exactly.
It's hard not to feel some sympathy for him.
Yeah.
Especially when he describes his attempts to find acceptance,
Right.
only to be met with fear and rejection.
Yeah.
You really see the tragedy of his existence.
You do.
How he's been shaped by the circumstances of his creation and abandonment.
It all circles back to Victor's actions.
Yes.
His failure to take responsibility for his creation.
Right.
The creature's suffering is a direct consequence of Victor's abandonment.
Mm-hmm.
And in his final moments, Victor seems to recognize this,
Okay.
expressing a sense of regret for his actions.
The powerful reminder
It is.
of the dangers of unchecked ambition.
Yeah.
Of the importance of considering the ethical implications of our actions.
Yes.
And it leaves us with this haunting image.
It does.
The creature filled with remorse, vowing to end his own life, disappearing into the icy wilderness.
That image raises so many questions.
It does.
Can the creature truly escape the legacy of his crimes through self-destruction?
Right.
Is it a genuine act of repentance?
Yeah.
Or simply a final act of defiance?
Right.
And ultimately, does his death bring any closure to this tragic story?
Yeah, it really makes you think, who is the real monster here?
Right.
Is it the creature driven to violence by rejection and loneliness? Or is it Victor, abandoning his creation,
Yeah.
allowing his obsession with revenge to just consume him?
It's a question that really resonates throughout the entire novel, isn't it?
It really does.
Like, who is the real monster?
Yeah.
Is it the creature,
Right.
Born into this world through unnatural means, rejected by everyone he encounters?
Totally.
Or is it Victor blinded by ambition,
Right.
consumed by a desire for revenge that ultimately destroys him?
I think that's the genius of Shelley's work.
Yeah.
She doesn't give us those easy answers.
No, she doesn't.
Instead, she forces us to kind of confront the darkness within ourselves.
Right.
To acknowledge that we all have that capacity for good and evil.
It's interesting, too, how Shelley uses the Arctic setting
Oh, yeah.
to underscore these themes of isolation and blurring of boundaries.
Right.
These vast, desolate landscapes, they mirror the characters' internal states.
I see that.
They're both physically and emotionally isolated,
Right.
lost in a world of ice and darkness.
That's a great observation. The Arctic becomes this symbolic space
It does.
where the lines between humanity and monstrosity,
Right.
between life and death, they begin to dissolve.
They do.
Victor is driven to the brink of madness by his obsession,
Yeah.
and the creature finds a strange solace
He does.
in the unforgiving wilderness,
Right.
a place where he can finally escape the judgment of humanity.
And there's this sense, too, that the Arctic represents the unknown,
Oh, interesting.
the unexplored regions of the human psyche.
I like that.
It's a place where Victor confronts his own mortality,
Okay.
his own capacity for both creation and destruction.
It's in this kind of liminal space, this
Yeah.
borderland between civilization and the wild,
Right.
that the creature delivers his final poignant confession.
He does.
It's a moment that challenges our perceptions of him,
Yeah.
revealing a depth of emotion and self-awareness that we hadn't seen before.
He expresses remorse for his actions,
Right.
acknowledging the pain he's caused.
Right. But he also articulates the profound loneliness
Yes.
and rejection he's experienced.
Yeah.
The longing for connection that drove him to such desperate measures.
And in his final moments,
Right.
the creature makes a choice that echoes Victor's own tragic downfall.
Oh, wow.
He decides to isolate himself from the world,
Okay.
to disappear into the icy wilderness.
It's an ending that's both heartbreaking and strangely fitting.
It is.
It's left me wondering,
Yeah.
does he actually find peace
Mm,
in his self-imposed exile?
right.
Does he finally achieve a sense of agency by choosing his own fate?
Yeah.
Or is his self-destruction just another form of imprisonment,
Right.
a perpetuation of the cycle of suffering that began with his creation?
Those are questions that I think each reader has to answer for themselves. Shelley leaves us with a sense of ambiguity,
Right.
a space for reflection and interpretation.
I agree.
And that's what makes Frankenstein such an enduring work of literature.
It really is.
It continues to challenge us, to provoke us.
Yeah.
To force us to confront the complexities of the human experience.
We've covered so much in this deep dive.
Yeah.
But I feel like we've only scratched the surface
Right.
of what Frankenstein has to offer.
It's a novel that rewards multiple readings.
Totally.
Each time revealing new layers of meaning and insight.
So if you haven't already,
Right.
I highly encourage you to pick up a copy of Frankenstein
Yeah.
and just embark on your own journey of discovery.
I agree.
You might be surprised by what you find lurking in the shadows of your own imagination.